Hey guys, we got some breaking news. Tesla finally rolled out the Cybertruck, and in this video we're going to give you three things. First, we're going to go over all the numbers, the pricing, then we're going to compare it to the competition, and at the end we're going to give you our opinion. So, ready to start, Tommy?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Tesla showed the concept of this truck a bunch of years ago, but at the delivery event in Texas today, we have some official numbers for the production version. It's been 4 years of anticipation, and let's talk about the different specs. So we're going to go through the pricing and what you need to know.
And then we're going to go through the top level spec to give you the numbers in terms of towing, in terms of ground clearance, all that stuff. So there can be three models of the Cybertruck, starting with the single motor version, Tommy.
Yeah, so that's going to start at about $61,000, but there's a catch. It's not coming until 2025. Tesla is saying a claimed 250 miles of range, 6.5 seconds 0 to 60.
Yep, and then from there you move on to the dual motor all-wheel drive, starting at $79,990. Or 80,000. I think I put one too many nines there, Tommy.
One too many. That's coming in 2024. 340 miles of claimed range, 4.1 seconds 0 to 60, 600 horsepower, 7,435 pound-feet of torque. That's wheel torque. We'll talk about that in a second. And then an 11,000 pound towing capacity is claimed.
Yep, they're doing the same thing the Hummer EV did. Right? It's
yes.
Not exactly what the standard in the industry is. And finally, the Cyber Beast triple motor. Starts at 96,390. What's the range and what are the numbers?
Well, they're claiming a 320 mile range, 2.6 seconds 0 to 60, 845 horsepower, 11,000 pound towing, and then they're also claiming eligible for the $7,500 tax credit on single motor and dual motor models, but of course there's an $80,000 MSRP cutoff, so Cyber Beast won't qualify.
Now, in the unveiling or delivery, whatever you want to call it, they did race it against the Porsche 911, towing a Porsche 911. And of course it won. But we don't know what Porsche 911 they raced it against because 2.6 seconds is fast, but a 911 Turbo is faster.
Yeah, and I think maybe, because I saw some pictures leaked online of those 911s, they look like maybe a Carrera S or a GTS. But anyways, that's not the important part.
No, it's not.
Let's go into some of the specs and talk about this vehicle. So we talked about the single motor, the dual motor, and the Cyber Beast triple motor, up to 845 horsepower and 10,296 pound-feet of torque. It's an insane number, but it's pretty unconventional. We're talking about torque at the wheels. For reference, the GMC Hummer EV claimed 11,500 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah, so it's a little bit unusual to claim these numbers, but people like big numbers, especially in the truck world. And by the way, Tommy, you know what bugged me about the presentation that Mr. Musk did?
What's that, Deb?
He kept calling it a car.
He did do that a bunch of times.
That was a little awkward.
As a truck person, I bet that probably bugged you quite a bit, Deb.
It did bug me, especially when he referred to the bed as the trunk.
Yes, that was a little off. But let's talk about that towing capacity, right?
Yep.
An 11,000 pound towing capacity. Now the F-150 Lightning, the Ford electric truck, is 10,000 pounds max when properly equipped. The Rivian R1T matches at 11K, and then the Hummer EV is a little bit below that.
Now we've tested all three of those. In fact, we've owned two of those three trucks. And I'll be interested to see how the Cybertruck compares when you actually hook it up to that load and drive it up the gauntlet.
Yeah, that's right. Our definitive towing test, we don't know, like, where is the brake controller and all of these towing things that Tesla typically hasn't had to deal with. So we're going to get all that information hopefully soon when we can get our hands on one. Yeah,
but I'm going to say that trucks are always about, three things, and two of the most important ones are towing and, of course, hauling. So let's talk about hauling.
Yeah, so 2,500 pounds of payload capacity is what Tesla's claiming. Now, the Lightning is up to 2,235 pounds. The Rivian is about 1,700. In comparison, an F-150 gas model, you can get over 3,000 pounds of payload capacity. And by the way, I'd like to point out, in terms of like overall length and height and that kind of thing, we were pretty spot on. Someone had leaked us the specs, and we published it, and then a bunch of people said that we were lying about our specs, but turns out we weren't lying about our specs because they were pretty much on the money.
So there you go. You saw it first on the fast lane truck.
Yep. And then we also have information about the bed. So 6 feet long, 4 feet wide, fairly standard bed size for a full-size truck. Elon claimed it can haul a 4x8 sheet of plywood with the tailgate down, also pretty standard. 35-inch tall tires, and then 17 inches of ground clearance with the air suspension in its extract setting.
Yeah, so, they did show a video of it off-roading. They did show a video video of it at the work site. One of the things that I was really impressed to see was that it actually has onboard power, Tommy.
It does have onboard power. I believe it's right around 11.5 kilowatts. They say you can power your house. You can power everything you'd want from the outlets in the bed. 11.5 kilowatts. Yep, that is a number they are claiming. More in the Lightning, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Another competition to this truck, which we just tested, is also the Silverado EV, which we tested in its current base trim, which is right around $79,000. So, Dad, I got a lot more specs, though, straight from the Tesla website.
Yeah, before we get to that, let me say one more thing. Obviously, when I was at the unveiling of it, they had a little bit of a glitch where they threw an iron ball at the window and it cracked the window. So this time around, Franz, the designer, threw a baseball at the window and it didn't break. And then they showed some video of Joe Rogan shooting an arrow at the truck.
And a Tommy gun.
And then somebody with a Tommy gun. And last time, I was assaulted by people with Tommy guns and arrows on my way. Never mind. I've never been assaulted by people with Tommy guns or arrows on the way to work.
Now, as promised, it's an ultra-hard stainless steel exoskeleton. They're claiming, speaking of the glass, an impact of a baseball at 70 miles an hour or class 4 hail. And they're claiming no paint, no chips. I don't know how that worked for the DeLorean, but this is apparently a very different beast. So we talked about the 2,500 pound payload capacity. We also have a power tonneau, Dad. Maximum of 67 cubic feet of lockable storage. It does have a front trunk. You can lock it all up, right? And then it also says fold up the seats in the second row for an extra 54 cubic feet of storage. So it looks like the second row seats do fold up. So I got some good information there. Should we keep going on some of the other specs now?
Yeah, keep going.
So we have some of the technology specs as well. So they're claiming an 18.5-inch Infinity touchscreen in the front and a 9.4-inch touchscreen in the back with an all-new user interface, a 15-speaker audio system with 2 dedicated subwoofers, wireless chargers, 65-watt USB-C outlets, lots and lots of things, 5 adults, glass roof, an all-glass roof, which we did have a chance to see there. And then, this is not such a good thing in my opinion. On the picture of the website, you can actually see all-terrain tires, which is great. And then it says, bring a spare tire for when you go where roadside assistance can't. There's a picture of a spare strapped inside the bed. So I'm wondering if perhaps it doesn't have a spare tire at all incorporated. And there's also something called Base Camp, which is like an Pontiac Aztec style tent that kind of straps to the back if you want to camp out of your Cybertruck.
Now, there are some questions that I have. Maybe you could help me answer them. First and foremost, did they actually say the battery size?
They did not.
So we know that on the high end, General Motors in the Silverado EV and the Hummer EV is well over 200 kilowatt hours. Mm-hmm. Ford with their Lightning is at 130, I believe, with the extended bigger battery. Rivian is also over 100. And I say that because we've owned 4 Teslas now.
Yep.
And these numbers, right? 340 miles of range, 320 miles of range. In a Tesla, unlike the Germans, they tend to overpromise and underperform. I've never been able to actually get those kinds of numbers in the Teslas that we've had, especially here in Colorado when you're driving, when it's cold, when you're driving in the snow, when you're driving using snow tires. And this is a big beast. So I'd be really curious to see actual size of the battery. And I think that number will eventually come out.
Well, yeah, it has to if they're going to sell it in big production volumes.
How about charge rate?
250 kilowatts of peak charge rate. They say up to 128 miles added in 15 minutes. Seating for 5, curb weight 6,843 pounds for the Cyber Beast. There's also an interesting little...
How much? 6,000?
843.
Seems light, so that would suggest the battery is a little bit smaller than the Silverado or the Hummer EV.
There's also a little blurb on this website that says range plus range extender, 440 miles. And there was no talk of a range extender in the presentation. So I don't know what that means, but Andre's going to have to get into that. Elon did claim locking differentials, and at the event they did... A
small diesel powertrain?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Tesla getting into the diesel business, but at the event they did have a front drive motor unit, and there was a little sign there that said it has a mechanical front locking diff, which is great to hear for off-road capability, independent suspension obviously, and then 4 years, 50,000 miles for the battery, for the vehicle warranty, 8 years, 150,000 miles for the battery and drive unit.
Now if you want one, Tesla has said that they have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of reservations.
They claim.
So it is on their website now. Pricing is on their website, but you might have to wait a while. They did deliver a handful of trucks. but when are they actually going to start rolling trucks out in larger numbers? I don't know.
Yeah, $250 fully refundable deposit, which you can reserve one today.
And they did get rid of that fee that they were thinking about charging there for a while if you were going to flip it.
Yeah.
So that is gone as well.
But look, Cyber Beast coming in at $99,990, right? That's a lot of money.
Right, so let's compare it to gasoline-powered trucks because we've also had a lot of experience with those. This number of 10,000, 11,000 pounds of towing, that's a little bit less than a properly outfitted full-size half-ton will do. I mean, you can get a half-ton to tow up to maybe 14,000 pounds. Forget about the heavy-duty trucks; they tow much more. In terms of range, obviously, you can get a large gas tank on a regular ICE-powered truck, and you can get up to 600, 700 miles of range, even on a diesel. So there, it still falls, quite a bit short of what a traditional truck will do. But Tesla does have the best charging network in America, and Tesla also does, I think, not have the burden of selling trucks through dealers. And if you're a dealer, sorry about that, but it's true.
We also have pricing against some of the competition.
Yep.
Silverado is about 75 to 107. A Rivian R1T is about 73 through 94. A Lightning is about 50 through 91. So this is kind of right in that pack, but it does top out kind of toward the upper end of that, right around $100,000.
And if you're comparing it to like a Raptor or a Raptor R or a TRX, it does tow more. It is quicker than those vehicles, and it is less expensive, especially if you're talking about the top of the line. What is it, Cyber Beast, Tommy? Is that what it's?
Cyber Beast, that's
right?
it. Then
Then it's gonna beat those vehicles in pure acceleration and towing and payload.
Well, folks, we'd love to hear your input. Andre's going to have a lot more content coming up over at TFLtruck.com if you want to find more information about how this truck compares to its competition.
But we forgot the most important thing.
What?
What we said, we promised. What is your thoughts of this truck? What do you think of it now that it's actually a real thing and not, just
I mean, I think on paper it's pretty competitive with the other mid-size or full-size truck offerings right now. In the electric side of things, I think that the numbers are cool. The four-wheel steering is cool. The steer-by-wire is really cool.
17 inches of ground clearance.
Variable steering ratio, yeah. I think all of that's really, really good. Pricing is about what I expected. It went up a lot from when they initially teased it.
$39,000 was original.
But yeah, I personally, I think the looks are a little too weird. I can't get over the tent parked on top of a cinder block look. So it probably isn't for me from a look standpoint, but that's subjective. We just need to get it in person and see if it does tow and do all the truck stuff like it's supposed to.
Yeah, my take on this, Tommy, is trucks have become the family trucksters in America. So once upon a time, people drove sedans, and then everybody started driving SUVs. And now, especially with the Rivian, trucks have become the new truckster for families. So instead of buying an SUV, you go and buy a truck, and then you don't necessarily use it for towing or hauling, except for maybe moving some furniture around. And I think this follows in those footsteps. In other words, trucks have become more lifestyle vehicles. So I think Tesla is certainly on trend when it comes to this. Now, I saw it in person, 2019, I think, right? 4 years ago now. And when a vehicle is first unveiled and you see it, and it was so startling and so different, you're like, wow, that is incredible. But now, over the last 4 years, it's kind of become, I shouldn't say mundane, because I think when you put it out in the world, it's certainly going to stand out from everything else. But I think the problem is it quickly will become not as unique and as unusual, but in some ways, the odd duck out. Will traditional truck guys and truck gals buy this? My answer to that question is probably not initially. We can see what's happening with the Lightning, for instance. I just read a story where it's got some of the longest, over 100 days time on lot. We'll see how the Silverado does. EV, Hummer EV, obviously they've been having a lot of difficulty getting those out in numbers. The Rivian, they've sold more than they thought they would. So I think they initially said they were going to sell around 45,000 units this year, and they're up to like 47. But my biggest worry is that, this is a big truck. It's not going to fit in a lot of people's garages.
Well, it's a full-size truck.
Yes, it's a big truck.
18.6 feet long.
I think if you're going from an SUV to a full-size truck, you're going to have issues parking it. You're going to have issues living with it. And so I think initially they will sell every one they could make. the first year it's going to be sold out. I think it'll do really, really well. But then I worry and I wonder what will happen in year 2. Once kind of the novelty wears off and once, all the neighbors have come and checked out your Cybertruck and you have to go to your local shopping center and park it and you have to live with it on a daily basis, people may find that, wanting is better than having when it comes to full-size trucks, especially if you're not using them as the ultimate tool in your toolbox, but you're just using it as a general runaround. So, like I said, I'm curious about it. We'll have to take it up the Ike. We'll have to give it a full TFL test and come back tomorrow to alltfl.com when Andre and Nathan will do a deep dive on our truck podcast, not just on this, but on the new Tacoma as well.
All right, we'll see you next time, guys.
Ciao.